leave it to my cat to get in the way of my video. What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing another challenge chat video where I talk about reality TV and the show The Challenge on MTV. Now I don't just talk about reality TV, I also have videos on beauty, makeup, hair, concert experiences, and I have a travel video coming up pretty soon too. So if any of those things interest you, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when I post. So I'm talking about 2 episodes here because I missed the last one, so we're going to do a very brief recap of 2 episodes ago and then talk about the most recent episode. So 2 episodes ago, we had the drama that went down between Casey, Bailey, and Nany. So if you aren't watching the current season, or if you just need a quick refresher, this is where Casey did not honor Bailey's request to be put into the elimination. Instead, she voted for Melissa and gave Melissa the opportunity to earn her red skull. This in turn made Bailey really upset because 1, Bailey wanted to earn her red skull this week. So she was upset because she wanted the opportunity. And then second, she was upset because Bailey and Casey were both on Big Brother together the same season. And according to some Instagrams and tweets I saw, Big Brother castmates did kind of have an alliance. Like, okay, you know, let's work this out together. Let's go onto the show for the first time and kind of have each other's backs. And then additionally, we find out that Bailey and Casey were actually really good friends on Big Brother. And they spent a lot of time together and they were pretty close friends according to Bailey. Casey made it seem like maybe Bailey was overreacting, or, you know, Bailey thought that her and Casey had something romantic, or it could have developed into something romantic if Bailey didn't end up falling for Swaggy on Big Brother. So there was kind of some confusion there. I believe Casey did a live video on Instagram and kind of talked about it from her perspective, but then Bailey had kind of just said, you know, I'm never talking to her again. So let me know your thoughts about that. I personally feel like, I mean, I don't know, I guess it's hard because I don't know the extent of what happened. You know, Casey did know Bailey longer than Melissa, so if we're thinking like loyalty or who's known who longer, then I guess she could have went with Bailey, but at the same time it's a game and you kind of just have to do whatever you feel is best at the moment. I did forget to mention that whoever Casey was pretty much voting for, you know, that was the person that was going to go against Nany, because Nany was ready to earn her red skull too, and Nany was going into elimination. So Nany was hoping to go into elimination against someone she felt like she could beat. At the time, she felt more comfortable going against Melissa than Bailey. So Casey and Nany have developed a pretty good friendship. And so Casey kind of had to not only think of what was best for her game, but Nany's game as well. And Nany expressed she wanted to go against Melissa over Bailey. And so Casey ended up voting for Melissa instead of Bailey. Of course, pissing Bailey off. Ultimately, Melissa went into that elimination. She actually beat Nany, and therefore Nany and Casey's alliance and friendship was split up, and Bailey was kind of thinking, you know, I told you so, or this is karma, and now Nany's gone. So let's get to the most recent episode, which was going to be a double elimination episode, which isn't that surprising since it seems like we are getting pretty close to the final. Everyone is feeling like it's crunch time. Josh is like, okay, red skull, I need you. Kyle's thinking the same thing, and pretty much anyone else that hasn't had a red skull is panicked. However, on the girls' side, Bailey's the only one that doesn't have a red skull at this point. So she's pretty much thinking like, well, if I don't win the daily challenge and get into the tribunal, then I'm pretty much going to ask that the house vote respects my decision and my one and only opportunity to go in and earn my red skull, since everyone else has one already. The problem is that since Bailey is the only one that doesn't have her red skull, that means in the elimination, she's going to have to go against someone that already has their red skull. So someone that's already been in elimination and won is going to have to go in again and possibly lose their red skull and get sent home. An interesting thing about this episode is that the challenge was actually taking place at night. So a lot of people were like actually in bed or winding down for bed, and then the bunker alarms go off and that means it's time for a challenge. So this challenge was a night challenge, and it was going to be one of those ones where you kind of had to reveal where your allegiances lie and kind of reveal who you want to lose. Basically, the players are running back and forth, lifting up these heavy objects and then putting them into a barrel. Each barrel has someone's name on it. So if you want someone to have a heavier barrel, you're going to put your stuff into their barrel. After the round is over and all the materials have pretty much been distributed at the time limit, everyone's going to have to hold up their barrel. So of course, the more materials you have in your barrel, the harder it's going to be. So right away, it seems like a lot of the girls are putting their stuff in Anissa's can. Casey did put some in Bailey's since they're pretty much already on the outs at this, but a lot of people are putting theirs in Anissa's too, and it's kind of sad because I have been watching old episodes of the challenge, and Anissa did used to be a really strong competitor, and frankly, she still is. I mean, I think her mental game is very, very strong. I think she's probably one of the most mentally prepared at the challenge out of all the girls. She seems to be pretty good at puzzles, and the only downfall to Anissa seems to be her endurance. So depending on the final, yeah, she could struggle a little bit, but people are worried that they'll be partnered up with her in the final. And so a lot of the guys are thinking, you know, whoever ends up going as the house vote into the elimination, maybe we should vote in Anissa, because, you know, if we have to get paired up with her at some point in the final, then we don't want to run with her. Now, I guess I can kind of see pros and cons to this. There have been some challenge seasons in the past where people do get paired up with someone of the opposite sex during the challenge. Usually it's in like phases or something. So usually you're not running it with them the whole time, especially if it was like an individual game. Maybe you'll be partnered with someone for phase 1, and then phase 2 you're partnered with someone else. And they don't even know for sure if there is going to be any type of partner pair-ups or anything like that. They're kind of just jumping to conclusions. That being said, also, I mean, if there are different stages, then everyone would have to be paired up with Anissa at some point too. So ultimately, Jenny is the one that wins this challenge for the girls. Okay, sorry if the lighting is weird and my angles are off now, but my cat would not stop getting into my camera, messing with the windows, everything. Okay, so don't even remember what I was talking about. Let me look at my notes. So Corey, Fessy, and Josh are pretty much the 3 left. So at this point, people are starting to cut deals because they're like, this could be a long time carrying these bins, holding these bins, or they're just super heavy, and they're like, you know what? Both Corey and Josh are trying to cut deals with Fessy. So Josh is like, hey Fessy, I'll let you win if you bring me to the tribunal. And he's like, okay, deal. And then Corey's like, hey man, like, it's down to us two. You know, I'll tap out and let you win if you bring me to the tribunal. And Fessy pretty much agrees also. So at this point, Fessy's kind of in some deep shit because he just made a deal with Josh. Now he's making the same deal with Corey. So now what's going to happen? However, Fessy tries to justify his decision, saying that he promised Josh that he would make sure he got into the elimination for the opportunity to earn his red skull. So basically, Fessy's saying, like, no matter what, we will make sure that you are either the house vote, or we pick you to be one of the 3 other considerations, and we'll make sure that we like vote you in. So no matter what, he's like, I'll get you into the elimination. Josh saw it more as a promise as making him a member of the tribunal. I think Fessy kind of just screwed up and he was trying to save his own ass. So Fessy seems to be leaning more towards bringing Corey into the tribunal, especially because Jenny does owe Corey one for Corey sending Jenny in to earn her red skull per her wishes. So Fessy is talking to Jenny, pretty much trying to say, okay, like, I need you to bring Corey into this tribunal. And in the end, she actually ends up bringing Josh into the tribunal. So the tribunal ends up interrogating Rogan, Nelson, Anissa, and Melissa. Bailey, of course, did get that house vote, so it is Bailey's opportunity to earn her red skull. And the tribunal's kind of figuring out, you know, should we throw Melissa in against her or Anissa? Anissa is understandably upset just at the idea she might go in because, as she said, she's done 12 challenges and she always gets kicked off like pretty close before the final. I can't recall she's ever even made it to a final at all. I don't think so. So she always gets so close and then nothing comes of it. I could see her really wanting to prove herself, get to the finals, and then maybe even end up retiring from the challenge. But I think if you've never made it to a final or had that win overall, you want to get that before you. So what happens is Kyle ends up being voted in to go against Josh, and Aneesa does end up getting voted in to go against Bailey. Essentially what's going to happen is there's a car and you have a rope. You need to tie as many knots and tangles around this car as you can, and in turn your opponent is going to try to untangle. So it's kind of like that challenge back in the day where it would almost be like a jungle gym structure, and they would do the same exact thing, climb and fall and twist and loop around, and then your opponent has to untangle the knots. It's essentially the same thing, but they're doing it around a car instead, which to me is a little more challenging because the car doors, like, you are like crawling through the windows, you know, through the passenger seat, through the driver's side, and then out the window again. So it seems a little more challenging to me, and it does seem hard for Aneesa and Bailey both. They both seem pretty like out of breath by the time they're done tying their knots, that then they have to go right away to try to untangle the opposite person's knot. And poor Josh is just so huge that it seems like he's definitely struggling when it's the guy's turn as well. In the end, Kyle ends up winning and Bailey ends up winning. So unfortunately, Aneesa again got really close but didn't make it all the way, and Josh got pretty close and didn't make it. So let me know your thoughts on this week's episode. It seems like the final is just around the corner. TJ even seems to tease them a little bit, like he was going to announce the final, and he didn't. So it seems like next week there is going to be one more elimination. They teased that it was going to be the infamous hall brawl. So that will be interesting because that's probably like one of the most physical challenges that there can be. So let me know who you think is going to be eliminated next week. Do you think the final is going to start next episode 2? And do you think they're going to do a location change or stay where they are? Otherwise, let me know if you have any other thoughts on this week's episode. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video.